This video clip is very disturbing. So if you have a problem with something that's very disturbing, please click out right now. You have been warned. Any children, anybody that's really sensitive, you think you might have bad dreams or something like that, or you just can't stand the sound of something like, people screaming and suffering in pain, don't watch this. You've been warned. So just go to another video. Peace.
Where them kicks at? Where them hands? Where them holes? Where them throws? You know what I'm saying?
Now, I always tell people that if you comply with the police officers when they ask you for ID and you don't give them any resistance, that you're probably going to be okay. Because that's been my experience. Well, now apparently my experience is wrong. I've watched this footage several times and I really don't see where this man was resisting at all. Even if he was, there was no excuse for this. And the reason why I bring this up is because the move that the cop did on this guy, some martial arts instructor or combat sport coach, either some judo coach or some wrestling coach. So basically, somebody who is like me taught the officer this move. And this is what I said in a couple of my other videos. You need to have martial arts instructors teaching cops, but not just, hey, here are some moves, but having them enrolled in curriculum and teaching them values and tenets along the way. Because when you just give people moves to be, destructive and to fight, this is what happens. So I should be able to use this for fair use for the purposes of education and commentary, right? Here we go.
About suspicious activity, man.
Suspicious activity? What? Where about?
They say they got someone.
View that camera. I told them what I was doing.
Oasis signs right here next to the El Rodeo.
I told them what I was doing. I was waiting for my sister, the Western Union, me some money. I always go there and get Western Union, and they know me.
Hey, you got your ID on you?
Yes, I got my ID. What do you got?
See, he's going for his ID. I wouldn't have even done that. I would have said, okay, is it okay for me to reach for my ID and put my hands up like this? But he gave them their ID, so.
I was doing.
We're out here investigating suspicious activity,
Well,
sir.
I'm not doing anything. I've been around cameras, so I ain't been doing nothing.
All right. So what were you doing over there at the Walgreens?
Waiting for Western Union. Call my sister right now. She's in Florida. You have a cell phone, call her. Don't
Call
me
who?
like this. Call my sister in Florida. Don't do this. What are you doing? Oh my God! What are you doing?
You see him
Put your hands
struggling?
behind your back, like you told. Put your hand.
His hands are behind his back. Now, part of the video is cut off on the bottom from the way I framed this, but you can see that his hands, if his arms are back here like this, all you may be able to see on the video is a part of his arms. Well, his hands are behind his back too.
What are you doing? Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Oh.
Now, he threw him and he landed on him. Not only is the force of the blow going to be hard, and just because it's on the grass doesn't mean it can't be destructive. This man ended up, I believe, with broken ribs after this. He throws him on the ground and then he landed on him. See, I can tell you one thing. I know in judo, you're not taught to land on your opponent. If you do land on uke, you're chastised for it. I don't teach people, when I'm teaching taekwondo or judo and to do throws, I don't teach them to land on the person that they're throwing. Because this is self-defense. Clearly, he's not doing self-defense. He's trying to just take this person down and apprehend him. Somebody who was not resisting him at all. Or attacking him or any threat. Not to mention the huge size difference.
Put your hands.
Doing anything. Oh my God. Jesus. Oh my God. You broke my wrist. Oh my God.
Stop.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he might be broke.
Oh Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Relax.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh Jesus. Oh, it hurt. Oh my God.
Yeah, hold on. Relax.
Please, sir. Oh God.
I mean, there's nothing else to say here. That was unnecessary. The guy was not fighting anybody. He offered up no resistance at all. His hands were behind his back. He gave up the ID when he was asked. There was no reason for this at all, in my opinion. None. They outnumbered him. They all looked like they were in better shape than him. He wasn't brandishing a weapon or doing anything threatening. So why? So why? You want your police officers to be better trained. You have got to train them. You got to train them in temperament and character, because just showing them more moves or having them go out on calls that they really shouldn't be going out on. I mean, just because just taking them out on calls they don't really need to be on. In this case, the guy was no threat. How could he have possibly been a threat? He complied the whole time, and the guy that came up behind him came up behind him. When he came up behind him, he didn't even move or anything. That guy was no threat. He was not a combatant at all, and he just gets slammed and gets broken ribs for nothing. For nothing. Well, probably for the color of his skin. That's pretty much that's the only thing I can see, is that they just did it to the guy because the guy's black. Because he wasn't doing anything. The only thing we can do to curb this stuff in the martial arts is, we teach people, we got to continue to teach the morals out there. But of course, the thing that gets me is somebody can come to me and learn all the stuff that I have to teach them and still go out and abuse it and misuse it. So if that's the case, then I think what we need to do is not make it so easy for people to learn how to do this stuff. And, I had the idea of having civilians, and I would like to do this myself. You have a civilian, their job is to go around and they train police officers. You have them training them in classical martial arts, not cop adapted. This is how we do it for law enforcement stuff. No, you're not special. No, this is how we do it for cop stuff. They learn the curriculum 1Z, 2Z, 3Z, 4Z, just like everybody else. I'm not going to tell you what to use on your job, what not to use on your job. You know, and your department knows by now what techniques are okay and what techniques are not. And like I said, I have black belt in Taekwondo, I have a black belt in Judo, I have a black belt in Kyushu Jitsu. Judo, of course, taught me throws, and I learned a few throws in Taekwondo too. None of them taught me to land on top of the person I'm throwing. None of them. I haven't formally taken wrestling, so maybe that happens in wrestling. I truly don't know. So if you have a wrestling background, please comment below and let me know if that's what's taught in wrestling. But even if it is, let's say for the sake of argument it is, your department should be able to tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. They're getting ready to outlaw chokeholds. Do you know when we do chokeholds in competitions, we don't do chokeholds in Taekwondo competitions. You do them in Judo competitions. At least at the local level, when you do a chokehold in Judo competition, you are supposed to do it in a non-lethal way. So if you can do it in a non-lethal way, you're putting on a chokehold against another person who's just as trained as you or higher. And if they're a combat athlete, even if they're a part-time combat athlete, they're probably in a lot better shape and a lot more physically dangerous than people you are arresting. Okay? On average. This is assuming that the person that, is not going to pull out a knife and stab you, something like that. But on average, they're going to be in better shape. They're going to be resisting more than somebody you're arresting because they're trying to win. If we can apply non-lethal techniques there, why can't you apply a non-lethal technique when you are outnumbering people and you are in better physical condition than the people that you are arresting? Now, again, I've never been a police officer, so I could just be Monday morning quarterbacking here. But I will tell you one thing. I don't know any instructor who would teach you to land on someone like that. You know who did tell me to do stuff like that? It was other people who liked hurting people. you know, children. A kid told me when I was a kid, I remember another kid telling me you didn't land on them, yeah, you hurt them real bad. But that was a child telling me that. That was not a responsible instructor telling me that. Wherever there's been a uniform on, where true structure is supposed to be taught and proper technique, they never taught me to do that. So this officer did something that I would put money. I strongly bet. If I were a gambling man, I would gamble that he was not taught to do that in a structured setting for the department. If he was taught to do that technique in a structured setting for the department, then whoever's teaching them to do stuff like that definitely needs to get a new job. You can develop a cop fu where it's very effective. You take people off balance, you put them on the ground, and you don't break their ribs. Especially since you were throwing a guy on grass. You didn't even throw him on the street. You didn't throw him on hard concrete. You threw him on grass and the ground. And you're going to tell me that you couldn't control that technique so that you didn't have to break his ribs. It's because you didn't care. The officer who threw that man down, you didn't care. This isn't, and I'm not saying this is an indictment to indict all of anybody. This is not an all thing, and this is not a defund the police thing. No. But I will say in this instance, you was wrong. You shouldn't have slammed that man on the ground like that and landed on top of him. Because when you land on top of people like that, you got your force from the ground and your force coming on top of them. So you smashing a person in between both forces. And that's not a very big guy anyway. He's a little older. So his bones are probably aren't as strong as it is. So those are some broken ribs there. And again, he wasn't resisting. I saw no resistance. I saw no fight coming from him. So let's see if there's going to be some sort of justice and accountability. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like to talk about the martial arts. And you know what? Now I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say what I was about to say for another video. But basically, in summary, for what I was about to say is, the problem is not isms. The problem is that human beings just don't want to act right. We just don't. We just can't stand to be nice to each other. And peace, and thank you for your time.
Where them kicks at? Where them hands? Where them holes? Where them throws? You know what I'm saying?